Hi everyone, this is Vinesh Sukumaran. Welcome to the Positive Behavior Podcast. As you know, this is a place where I talk about applications of positive psychology as well as ways to develop and demonstrate positive behavior in life. So, this is the third season of the Positive Behavior Podcast. It's called Life Lessons from Friends and Family. A lot of people who've been asking me about what's coming next. Well, here we are. This is the third season. Up until now, what you saw was, or what you heard, was really my voice and my ideas and my insights, and it was mostly audio driven. So one of the big changes that I've made is, what you see here, this recording, this video conference is also going to be on YouTube, so you can watch it there. So you can also listen to it on Spotify, on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and so on. So here's what happened. At some point I realized that, I have these amazing friends, and these are people who have such brilliant positive behaviors. So I should bring them here, I should bring them to the podcast and interview them and share their positive behavior insights with you. So that's really what this session is about. So this third season is about me interviewing people who I know well and allowing them to share their positive insights. So here's who I have for the third season, and this is actually the second podcast of the third season. This is a very special friend. She's a really amazing person. Her name is Silvia Riaño Rufilanchas. We've spent a lot of time together, and in fact, every time we meet, there's so much to talk about. We talk about so many things from, everything from the Spanish bullfight to cuisine, to friends, people we know in common, about the different things in India. And there are times we've met each other for like few hours, and when we are wrapping up, we still haven't finished telling each other about all the things that we wanted to talk about, right? So I've also mentioned Silvia in my book because there are several insights, ideas in my book which were really outcomes of my conversations with Silvia. So I've especially thanked her in the preface of my book. And what else can I say about Silvia? Well, she's one person, though she's from Spain, she speaks decently good English. But I think one of the big things is she's an amazing communicator. I keep talking about ATC and WTC, the ability to communicate and the willingness to communicate. Now, Silvia has a really high WTC. She has a really high willingness to communicate. So I've seen her meet absolute strangers, and sometimes even with limited language proficiency, she can just get her ideas across perfectly. So, Silvia, welcome to the third episode of the Positive Behavior Podcast. I'm going to begin by asking you a few things, but first, would you like to tell the audience here a bit about yourself, who you are, your background, so that they have some sort of context and, the background of the person who all these positive insights are coming from?
Hello. First of all, thank you so much for the presentation that you have done. I think that you have put the expectations very high. And I have to ask to everybody, sorry for my English, because it's not perfect, but I do my best, okay? So, and if you don't understand something, go to Google, because Google translates everything, even my English. Okay, so as Vinesh said, my name is Silvia. I'm from Spain, from Madrid, and I have two younger brothers, 4 nieces, and 1 nephew, and of course 2 turtles. They are here around me, just going around. I have already got the first shot of the COVID vaccine. That in Spain, that means that I'm over 50. By the way, for those who are good on numbers, I was born in 1963. I'm not going to tell you my age, only the year that I have born. And I'm afraid that I can be considered a restless soul, and that might be the reason why I was working in so many different areas in my life. I've been working in advertising, I've been working in photo production, and among others that I'm not going to tell you everything that I have done. For that, you have LinkedIn and my resume there. And right now, I'm a travel consultant. So I think that's, if there is any else you want to ask me about myself, but I think that's the most important thing.
Sure, Sylvia. Thanks for that. I think that's a good background of where you are. You want to tell the audience which part of Spain you are from and something about your city?
Yeah, I already said that I'm from Madrid. Madrid is the capital of Spain, and it's a city that everybody is welcome, because, like big cities in India, that Delhi or Bangalore, my Bangalore, there are a lot of people who have come from other cities. So here in Madrid, nobody feel a foreigner, and I think it's a nice city to live. I like Spain. Yes.
Nice. I actually love Spain. I also love Madrid, and I think I've loved my time there. So, Sylvia, this podcast is about positive psychology, and one big part of positive psychology is leisure. So, what are some things that you do, when you're not at work? What's your idea of having fun? What do you do to enjoy yourself? And there's a lot of focus in positive psychology of getting people to experience the positive things, and one big positive thing is leisure. So what are some things that you do outside of work? What do you do to enjoy yourself? What's your idea of having fun?
Okay, first of all, I have to tell you that I must be a work addict, because I also enjoy working. So there are a lot of things. I don't make this separation so high between work and free time, or the time for me. But I understand what you are saying. So when I'm not working, I make the difference between things that make me feel good and things that I have fun with. For example, one of the things, and you know that, I can spend hours and hours and hours talking in front of a beer or a good wine, just talking about everything in the world. I think that I have saved the world like 2,000 times at least, just talking with friends. So yes, talking with friends is one of the things that I enjoy the most. Traveling, I love traveling, but not traveling. Sorry, my turtle is trying to broke something. Okay, I will introduce my turtle later.
Sure.
Yeah, so I love traveling to meet people. For me, meeting people is the most important things, because of course seeing the monuments and all these things, that's important, but meeting people and learning from them, I think, is one of the things that I like the most. And this is especially people that is very different from you, and that's happened when you are traveling, Another thing that I love is learning new things. Some people must think, hey, but this is not free time if you are learning something new. For me, it's, I spend most of my time learning new things. It could be reading books or watching YouTube. It could be any place, or talking with people, So, because I really love learning new things. Learning and then calling friends saying, hey, do you know about this?
Right.
To share this with everybody, And okay, the other thing that I really enjoy doing is doing a craft. I think that you say it like that, craft. So I can spend hours doing this, losing completely the sense of the time. And cooking new recipes. Okay, not really cooking. I like mixing things. I don't know if you can call this cooking, but I love cooking, mixing ingredients and see what happens. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not so good. But the good thing is you always have Domino's pizza if you were not. And I also enjoy taking care of my little urban orchard that you can see here. It's something that I'm really proud seeing how the plants grow. It's amazing. It's really amazing. So yes, these are the things that I can think right now that I enjoy.
All right. So, thanks for that, Sylvia. See, a big part of the whole idea of positive psychology is, looking at what's working, looking at what's going right. And through my work in coaching and training and consulting, I've seen that there are different people have different, formulae for success. So different people are doing different things right. So having done all the different sorts of jobs that you did, having reached where you are in life, what do you think are some things that you've done right? And is it something that somebody else can do? And if so, how can somebody else do the same thing?
Yeah, okay. First of all, one good thing now that you are talking about success is that I don't have a clear idea what is success. But one thing that I know is that I put very low my expectation about success. So I think that's a good thing, because if you put, I know that many people will find this like crazy because they want to.
So it's not just success. It's just about happiness, a good life. Whatever's good for you in life. So so to reach that better state in life than a worse state, I'm sure everyone does something right. So yeah, I'm also not really specifically trying to focus on success. So it could be anything. What's your secret, or what do you think you've done right in terms of in your life so far?
Okay, things that I can feel proud about what I have done in my life. One is I take care of my friends. I really take care of my friends. They are a really important part of my life. So I spend time and I really take care of my friends. This is something that I think that I do it very well. Another thing that I think that I have done well is I do not waste time holding a grudge against anyone. I don't know if you say that. I realized long time ago that it's to having bad feelings for people that you have known in the past, that it's just a waste of time. So, and now I'm a master on that. I completely forgot. The other day I was talking with a friend that I know from when I was 18, 20 years old, and we completely stopped talking with each other for more than 10 years. And I called him and he was like, yeah, and I called him and he was like, oh, I'm so happy that you called because I feel so bad for what I did to you. I really feel bad and I have to ask you for apologize. And I was like, you haven't done anything to me. And he said, yeah. You are the only person that I feel that I doubt something. And I told him, seriously, I don't remember. And he was saying, you are so nice that you are saying this, but it's impossible that you forgot what I did. And promise you I forgot what I did to him. So he was 10 years feeling bad for something that I completely forgot. So that's a good thing. Yeah, another thing that I think that I have done well is to be open to learn new things. It's good for yourself. And talking about this also, every place where I was working, I was thinking the salary, it was not the only thing that I can take from there. The most important thing was always learning new things, because this is something that you can always keep with you. Salary at the end of the month, you don't have the salary. At least I don't have the salary. But everything that you know is always with you, and also you can share with more people. So yeah, I think that and another thing is
go on.
No, another thing that I think that I have learned, and I'm very good on it, is that I accept that change is the only permanent thing in your life. Having this in mind all the time, that no matter what happens, nothing is permanent. It's going to change. So to learn this, it prepare you to live a better life. At least for me. I don't know for others.
Thanks, Sylvia. So I'm just going to pick on. I mean, I totally get the learning idea. You taking care of your friends. One of the things that you said, it was so important. This whole idea of not holding a grudge against people, right? Not holding a grudge against people from the past. How do you do that? Like, I'm just imagining somebody listening to this podcast and saying, "Oh God, I have a grudge against 5 people, 3 people, whatever." How do you have something to tell? Do you have something to say to them about how they could practice this? Like, if I have a grudge, of some listeners having a grudge against ex-girlfriend or boyfriend or ex-business partner or whatever, how do you think they could practice this?
I'm going to give you my trick that I don't know if it works to anybody else. But the first thing,
sure.
And this is not a trick, the first thing is to understand or to accept that it's important to you. If you don't see the importance of not having any grudge to anybody, how important it is to you, then it doesn't matter anything that I can tell you. Because the first thing is to realize how important it is. I have to say that for me it was natural. I mean, I learned this when I was very small. So I was practicing for a long time, so it's easier. But I remember once that I really have a problem to forgiving someone, okay? And it was the first time that I have this problem. And I was thinking, and I couldn't, continue with my life because I have this problem, and I was all the time thinking about that. And I say, this cannot happen to me. I mean, I never have this problem, so I need to find the way. So this is the trick, what I did, okay? I know it sounds stupid, but for me it works. So at that time what I did is every time that I start thinking about this person and what he did to me, I start thinking in one special word that okay, for me it's difficult to say this in English, is strawberry.
Like the fruit strawberry? Okay, strawberry, yeah.
Yeah, in Spanish is fresa, that is easier, okay? So I keep repeating this word, fresa, 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 fresa. And after some time, I was thinking about other things instead of what this guy or what he did to me. And it works. I don't know. I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but it was for free. You just need to think about it. You don't even need to say in loud voice. So you could also be in a meeting with more people, because at that time, if I was bored in a meeting, the thoughts came to me. So thinking, fresa, 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 it works.
It works. Wow, that's interesting.
Putting the focus of your mind in something different and something that is easy, and it became a habit. Then, what happened is, as soon as I start thinking about this person, the word fresa came to my mind together. So
so that you're creating some sort of a conditioned reflex there. This is interesting. So I'm not going to change it. I think that's a great suggestion. So those of you who are listening, if you have a grudge against somebody, if you want to forgive them, just say strawberry and keep repeating strawberry, 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 and then finally you'll reach a point when you think of the person and you're going to remember this beautiful pink strawberry. So thanks for that, Silvia. That's a nice idea. I'm actually going to see if I can, make another podcast out of that. So you said sometime back about success, and, you said you don't give it a really high priority in your life. You don't give it that much importance. But in, people who I work with, people who I coach, each of them, different people are after different things. It could be money, somebody else is after, material wealth, buying a big house, or sometimes getting their kids educated, sometimes happiness, whatever. What do you think are the ideal things that, people should be after in life? What do you think people should go after in life? What do you think are worthwhile pursuits?
Yeah, the thing is not that I'm not trying to be success. The only thing is that every time that I listen any YouTube conference or people talking about success, most of the time it's always about money and getting a better job or things like that. So that's the reason why I'm saying that I'm not so interested in success, but it's not true. The only thing is that for me success is a little different, and for me success is just feeling fine with myself. This is success to me.
Okay.
So okay, I don't remember the question.
So I was saying that different people are after different things. Money, success, happiness, and whatever. So what do you think are the ingredients of a good life?
Yeah. Okay. For me, of course, I can only talk about myself. I understand that for other people will be other thing, but for me, what is really important is, first of all, to be consistent with myself. This is the most important thing, no matter in all the areas of my life. If I'm not consistent, if I feel that I'm not consistent, then I have a problem. The other thing is work only on what I am passionate about it. And if I cannot work in this kind of work, then be passionate of what I'm doing. I know that it sounds like, oh yes, it's easier to say than to do, but promise you, I have done many times, because it's not possible to be, all the time passionate of what you are doing in your job. Sometimes there are people who are very lucky and they are all the time passionate, but I have done this too many times. I remember when I was working in advertising and I have to add, I don't know how do you call, the electricity. You have these huge columns that transport the electricity. I don't know.
Like a transformer?
Yeah, and I have to advertising these things. How can you be passionate about this? It's very difficult. But somehow I found a way, and after that I remember going in the road and telling my friends, hey, see, this column is called this because all the columns have different names. And they were saying like, you are really crazy, Silvia. How can you be passionate about this thing that is? And I said, I don't know. Yes. So I always find a way to be passionate about the things that I'm doing. So I think that, yeah, it's important to, if you really want to be a success, and it doesn't matter, if, for example, if you have child and for you the success is to see how they finish their school, or you have to put passion on that, not just doing teaching your sons, just because you have to do it. No, look for passion in everything. I don't know if it works for others, but for me, sometimes I think that I'm too much passionate. Yeah.
That's nice. I think that's so critical because, what you're saying, this whole idea in positive psychology is called authenticity. The first thing that you said about being consistent. And I think passion could probably be a great indicator of whether you're really doing something that is consistent with you, which you love or not. Because if it's not, like you said about the transformer, then you might have to just work extra hard to to create that passion. So another big idea of positive psychology is strengths. Okay, there's a lot of importance given to strengths, and I'm just curious to know. Okay, so strengths essentially are things, these are qualities that sometimes come to you naturally, sometimes you've had to develop, but these are really qualities that people reach out to you for. And there's a lot of research which says that when people use their strengths, they actually enjoy what they're doing more. And you said something about art and craft earlier, right? And you said you could do art and craft and just lose a sense of time and lose yourself in it. And that quality is called flow in positive psychology. So what do you think are some of your strengths, Silvia? And also, if you can talk a bit about, did these strengths come naturally to you? Did you have to develop them? Also, how did these strengths really help you in life?
That's funny. I was listening to you and thinking, because what happened when something became a strength, that you really feel like it's one of your strengths, then you don't remember that you really work hard to get that.
Right.
And there are something that now are part of my strength, but if I think in my past, it was not. So I should have done something to get that. But now I look at that and say, no, I always were like that, but it's not true. One of my biggest strength is that I have a very bad memory. And you will say, how can it be a strength to have?
Wow, yeah, that sounds counterintuitive.
But as I told you before, no, I have a very bad memory for grievances. So for me, it's a strength because that allow me, for example, is something that when you are working in a company that there are a lot of people. If you keep holding things against people, then it's very difficult to work. If you have bad memory, then every day is a new day, so you don't have any problem. I mean, I don't have such a bad memory that one day, but I completely. So bad memory for me is a strange. Okay. The other thing that I think is so strange is I'm empathetic. You say empathetic, no? I'm very empathetic, and this is by nature. I mean, I haven't done anything for that.
This just came to you naturally. Okay.
I remember being very small, and for the good and for the bad, because being empathetic is sometimes when you see someone who is suffering. In fact, I have done something against to be so empathetic, because sometimes you put the other people's problem. So
Right.
I learned how to be a little less empathetic. That is funny, no? There are so many people trying to be more empathetic, and I have to. If there is someone who wants to be more empathetic, he or she can call me, and I give some of my empathetic.
Okay.
And I don't know. It's difficult to think about the strength. I am a hard worker. I think that's also a strength.
Okay.
But because what I...
Oh yes, I totally recall that, yeah.
Yeah, but because I enjoy working. I think it's more than a strength, it's a weakness. Because, how do you say weak? The opposite of...
Weakness, yeah.
Because sometimes I have to remember myself that I have to stop working. So yeah, it's not.
Okay, I'm just going back to what you said. Having a bad memory now, I'm pretty sure that also came to you naturally. Being empathetic, and you said you had to sort of teach yourself to be less empathetic. That also probably came to you naturally. And hard work. I'm going to just pick hard work. I've seen you being really hardworking. I've seen you work so hard to, in every company that you were a part of as a travel consultant, and also what you told me earlier about being in advertising and being in the different companies you worked in. So somebody listening to this podcast and saying, I want to become more empathetic and I want to become more hardworking. How do you think they could go about doing that? How could they develop these strengths? Any thoughts on that?
For being more empathetic, if you really need to be more empathetic, that I think that the people need to, is just to think that you are not different of the others. When you realize that you are not different, that everybody have the same, in the basic level, we all want the same things. This is one thing. And the other thing is to accept or to realize that the people, most of the time, the people doesn't do things against you. They just do whatever they can do. They do their best. And I know that this is something very difficult to accept when you have a problem with someone and you say, yeah, he's doing his best, but his best is really bad for me. But really, he's doing or she's doing his best or her best.
Right.
So when you accept that, it doesn't mean that you have to tell to everyone, oh yes, do whatever you want. No, it's just to understand why they are doing that. And then for you, it will be easier to, go ahead and don't and understand. And when I realize that when you understand the others, when they see you that you understand them, they also try to understand you. There must be a mirror. I don't know if there is a name for that, but every time I remember I was living in a building where the neighbor were very rude person, and so every time that I went into the elevator, I said good morning, and he didn't reply anything. And my boyfriend at that time, he said, "Why you continue saying good morning? It's clear that he's not going to say anything." And I told him he must have some problems. I mean, it's not normal to be in an elevator and don't say good morning to someone who is saying good morning. So he must have his problems. Right. So I continued saying good morning every time, and he was like quiet. And suddenly one day I said good morning, and he said, "Hi, good morning." You know, for me, I was so happy that I was, even if it's the only time that he said good morning, you know. So he can do whatever he wants. I keep saying good morning. And if he doesn't say anything, instead of thinking, oh, he's rude, no, I was thinking, he must have problem. Or maybe he's deaf. That he was not.
So the term for that is called mirror neurons in psychology, which is you sort of invoke in others the feelings that you have inside yourself. Right. So what about the hard work thing? I'm sure you've met people in life who weren't hardworking, or I'm sure at some of the offices that you worked in, you had someone in your team who you wished, I wish this person worked a little harder. So what do you think someone can do to become more hardworking and to sort of develop that as a strength?
First of all, I have to say that it's not being a hard worker is not something good just like this. Okay, you always have to have a balance. A balance that I didn't have, and I'm trying to be better on that. So first of all, having a balance. But the other thing is, when you are work, be there, be in your work. Don't be in your work thinking about other things, because first that will make that you, to finish anything, you will need more time, and thinking about what happened outside is not going to help you, because you cannot do anything. So I think it's something called being in the present, no? That India know how good how to do that, and Western people, we are trying to learn from the Indians. And the other thing is, you cannot work hard if you don't feel passionate about what you are doing. So look in what you are doing. If there is something that you can be passionate about it. If there is nothing, then change your work. Don't continue doing something that you hate. It's not possible to be a hard worker and hate what you are doing. And if you work in a team and there are some tasks that you don't like or you don't enjoy so much doing, just talk with your team, because sometimes, in your team there are people who love doing this and they hate doing something that you really love. So talking with the team is, sometimes there are people who are doing, all the team are doing things that they don't like, that they hate. Say, hey, I hate, answering emails. And there is someone say, hey, I love answering emails. I answer all your emails and you do this for me. There are people who doesn't like to work with numbers, like me. I hate working with numbers. I'm really bad with numbers. So just talk with the people and try to find something that can, you can get passionate. And of course, always try to learn something new. Every day. If I remember one of my colleagues in Enchanting Travels, every day I check with her, did you have learned something new today? And she was telling me, oh, why you always ask me that? And I told her, if you haven't learned anything today, that means that you have wasted your day. How can you be in 8 hours doing something and you haven't learned anything? And at the end, she started calling me and said, hey, I have learned it. Because then she started looking for things to learn, because she knew that I'm going to ask her. So,
right.
Yeah.
So I like the whole idea of trying. So if you want to develop empathy, just keep trying, and someday the other people are going to sort of change their minds. The other thing you said is about hard work. So it's far easier to be hardworking while you do something that you love. So if there's nothing in your work that you enjoy, then find something that you love. I also like that idea of bartering. So there are people around you who might love to do what you hate to do. So if you exchange parts of each other's tasks, I think that's a better thing to do. And what else did you say? Oh yeah, learning something new every single day. I think that's brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to shift tracks a bit. Talking about this whole idea, like this post-traumatic stress in psychology. In positive psychology, there's a lot of focus on something called as post-traumatic growth, saying that, look, when you've gone through something difficult, you might actually come out stronger, and therefore it could be a good thing in the long run. And I'm sure you've gone through your own tough times in life, right? What are some qualities that have helped you get through some of the tough times in life? And I think there are a lot of people in the world who are going through a tough time now with the pandemic. I'm sure they'd want to hear other people's success stories and formulae. So what's helped you get through some of the toughest times in your life?
The first thing is, and it's what works better for me, is to bear in mind that nothing is forever. No matter, and this is for good and for bad. If you are crossing a bad situation, just keep in mind, nothing is forever. Everything is about time, question of time. Let the time pass. So the only thing that you have to do is wait. In the worst of the situation, if you don't know, you feel like I cannot do anything, then just wait. Don't do anything, because this also will pass. This is one of the most important things for me in the special bad times, when you really feel like, I cannot breathe, there is nothing, then it's okay, it's just a question of time. The other thing is, maybe it's a little selfish, but I always try to remember that no matter what happened to me, same thing, exactly the same thing, have happened to millions of people. And they were able to got over it. So I'm not less, I also have the capacity then, so I need to learn how to do it. It's nothing that it will happen to me. It will be something new that nobody has gone through it before. So that means that as a human being, you can afford everything. Okay, and of course my friends, having friends, and knowing, especially not just having friends, knowing which is the best friend for each situation, because sometimes you call the friend who is good for having beer, and then you became upset because he is not good by listening to you. Then you have to know exactly who you have to call in each time. And another thing that I think is essential is to have sense of humor. No matter what happened to you, even in the worst of the situation, try to have sense of humor. I know that sometimes it's very difficult, especially when it's something related with health or someone who died. This is difficult, but I have seen, I don't know, but in Spain, sometimes when you get together, because someone has died and you go to the funeral, in Spain it's very common to start telling jokes. I don't know why, maybe it's because we are feeling stressed, but if the people doesn't tell jokes in a funeral, then you go out saying like, this was not a good funeral. So even in the funeral, you have to, because, the one who has died, he also want to listen jokes.
So let me just go backwards on this. So first is you have, during tough times you've exercised, don't lose your sense of humor. I think that's a great idea, because I see when people are having a tough time, one of the first things to go out of the window is their sense of humor. I also like that idea of friends, and not just friends, having different friends for different situations. And then, yeah, of course, I like that, the fact that you emphasize that, realize that you are not unique in going through this. There are thousands of people, millions of people who've gone through the same thing. And I think the first thing that you said was, I've heard this from a lot of people, quite popular, and I think it's really powerful, telling yourself and believing that this too shall pass, and this is going to go. You just have to wait it out, right? Were you going to say anything else, Silvia?
No, I was just thinking that about this. I remember that when I decided that when I did I was applying for my driving license. It's not a bad situation, but when you really need the drive license, you feel like, you are very stressed, okay? And I remember that I was thinking at the beginning, I was like, I'm not going to be able. And suddenly I look around and I say, there are millions of people driving. It couldn't be so difficult. So I think that was the time when I thought, okay, the fact that there are millions of people of whatever, that means that it's not so difficult. So that's the reason why I applied this to get out.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting way to sort of bring that idea, nail it down. So look around, and if you see so many people doing it, I think that's just indication that if they can do it, you can do it, right? So the other thing which I want to ask you is, now when people are going through tough times, two of the popular go-to places is, one is reading. They go to Google, they go read articles, read books about it, and so on. The other thing is watching videos, watching a TED talk or whatever. So I can't really nail down a particular article, a TED talk, whatever. But I'm just going to talk about the more popular variant of it, which is just books and movies. So are there any books or movies that have had a positive impact on you? And do you want to share a couple of them? Would you recommend a couple of them to the sort of audience who's listening to this podcast?
Definitely. I'm very happy that you asked me this question. I always love to say that, like follow this taxi, and I'm very happy that you asked me this question. Yeah, there is a book that for me, okay, and I already have this book here. Okay, can you see the book?
Yeah, Peace is Every Step.
Yeah. It's a book from Thich Nhat Hanh, and I discovered this book in 1982 or something, when I was in San Francisco, and for me it was a big thing. I mean, this book, if you see the book, it's very old. I have this book since then, and I keep checking. Sometimes when I'm not feeling well, I just open the book, in a random page, and I start reading, and then I say, oh my God, if there is only one book that you can buy, I think this is the one. Okay. And I don't receive any money from this guy. I don't even know if he's alive. Okay.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he's. There is another book that is called The Egyptian, that I also have the book. Okay, it's in Spanish. But you can also see that it's very old.
Yeah. What's the book called again? It's called The Egyptian?
The Egyptian, yeah. It's Sinuet the Egyptian. And the writer is Mika Baltari. And in this case, the other one, it was more for myself. This is just because it is the first book that I remember that I enjoy reading it. For the first time, you go to the school and they ask you to read this book, and you are reading the book, but you are not enjoying, and you are also thinking, what I have to read El Quijote, or what, I don't know, in India, I don't know, which is the classical book that you have to read and nobody likes, not even your parents. So this is the first book that I remember that I enjoy reading it. And I also remember the music that I was listening when I was reading this book. So it was, it was the book who showed me that reading is not something that you have to do for suffering, but to enjoy. So for me, it was a big thing. And another book that, in fact, there are 4 books, is called the Alexandria Quartet. It has been written by Lawrence Darrell, Alexandria Quartet.
Okay.
And I remember this book was so different from any of the books that I haven't read till then, that for some time I was thinking to become a writer. I was thinking, and I tried, but I realized that I cannot be like by this guy, Lawrence Darrell. And I say, okay, better to be something else. But I think that this feeling is still there, that I really want to write another quartet of Alejandria in my life. And talking about movies, one of my favorite movies is a child movie. Okay, I have to read the title, okay, because I don't know if you know, but in Spain we change the title of everything and we make it completely different. So in English is Bed Knobs and Broadsticks.
Bed knocks and broadsticks, is it?
Yeah. This is a Walt Disney movie. And in this movie I discovered that the magic is real. There is a magic words in this movie that really works. And in that movie I realized that magic exists. For those who doesn't believe in magic, I recommend to see this movie, because you will learn magic words, very powerful magic words. Another movie was Koyaanisqatsi. Is I don't think that many people know this movie. It's experiential movie, so it's not a real movie. It's just about image, but it's. I remember watching the movie in the movie theater, and I was like, wow, when the movie finished. And now it's available in YouTube for free. So if someone wants to see it, it's very interesting. And the other movie was Choose Me from Alan Rudolph. Alan Rudolph is one of my favorite movie director. And it's a very old movie. I don't know if it has get older in a good way. You know what happened with movies. When you see the movie again, it's like, oh really? How I love this movie. But in any case, the soundtrack of the movie is amazing, and it's still amazing, by one guy called Teddy Pendergrass. But in this movie, it was I think it was the first indie movie that I saw, when the indie movies was good movies. This independent movie market, that it was very good.
Thanks for that, Silvia. I think very definite and clear suggestions on different movies and books. A lot of people who I coach or mentor or train, one of the things that they all want in some form or the other, whether it's success or monetary gains or material wealth, or sometimes just happiness, or I shouldn't be saying just happiness, sometimes happiness. One of the things they all want is to feel good, right? So I'm just curious to know, what does feeling good mean to you? I mean, how does that feel? How does feeling good, what is it that you're feeling when you feel good?
Yeah, there are 2 things for me that are very clear, that I feel like I'm feeling good. And one is the feeling that I don't need anything else. When you have this feeling that you say that if a genius came and I say make 3 wishes, I will say nothing. I have everything. That's and the other is when I feel like, oh, I'm feeling so good that I really need to call a friend to share this with he or her. Every time I'm feeling really happy. I have this feeling, this need to share this with someone. I don't have this feeling when I'm feeling very sad, but every time that I'm feeling very happy, I have this need to share with a friend. And then I feel like, oh, I'm really happy. Sometimes I don't do it, maybe because it's not the time, but in my mind, I share this with the person, I said, in fact, sometimes I say, yes, I told you that, and the people say, no, you never told me that, and I say, okay, it was only my mind, but I really need to share this with the people that I love. Yeah.
So that's so. I think these are, as I'm listening to you, I think these are such good indicators, and I think, it's just intuitively sounding to me like this would probably work for everybody. At a point when you feel like you don't need anything more, and when you feel like something's happened which you want to share with somebody, something good's happened, I think that's a good indicator of feeling good. So, any thoughts on how people generally could feel good?
The thing is, I think that for everybody is different. So this is one thing. First, the only thing that I can say is don't try to be happy all the time. That's stupid. I mean, the people who say I want to be happy, that's stupid. You cannot be happy all the time. First of all, because if you are happy all the time, then you don't realize that you are being happy. So when you are feeling sad, it's also very good, because then when you are feeling happy, it's like when you have a headache, a big headache, you say like, oh my God, it's so bad. And when the headache disappears, you really, see the value of not having a headache. And then you feel like, wow, not having a headache is a pleasure. So having this, so the only thing that I can say, if you really want to be happy, is to remember that you are not going to be happy all the time. So anytime that you are being happy, just try to, hold it and be ready for this is also going to pass. That's it.
Embrace happiness when it comes and realize that, this will go away, but it could probably just come back as well, right? So, Silvia, I just have one last question for you, which is, you've clearly, from what you've said so far, you've been learning so many things. I've seen you, when you lived in Bangalore, as well as when I was in Spain. Learning is a big part of your life. So, what are some things? Do you think there are things that you still need to learn, or what are some things that you still feel that you need to learn?
Yeah, there is one thing that definitely I need to learn, and is to talk English properly.
Hey, you're actually doing well. You're doing brilliant.
But it's okay. No, but talking now seriously, there is one thing that I'm working on it now, and is to be. I think that the word in English is assertive. I'm not sure if this is a word. Is
assertive, yeah.
Yeah, learning how to express how I feel or what I want in a calm way. Don't get upset, to say, don't make a confrontation every time. If you feel like someone is not being good with you, just tell it, but in a good way. Don't reach this point that then you have to say like, a gas, like, suddenly everything explodes because you feel so frustrated. So be able to do this in a,
right.
And I think I'm learning that. This is my objective, my goal for this year. In fact, it was my goal last year, and because we have the pandemic, I say, okay, this is not the time to be, I have so much stress, so I changed my goal. But it's something that I really want to do, and I hope that I will learn before I die, because I think that's the most important. This is something that I really, it will change my life, really, if I know how to do that. So if you know some expert who can teach me, because I think that I also need help to do that.
I like.
If there is someone who can teach me English, but in an easy way, no, I'm joking. I know that it's difficult. I'm also learning Hindi now.
Oh wow! So I'm just thinking as I'm listening to you. I think I can think of someone who's an English, Hindi, and assertiveness expert. Okay, I'm going to connect you with that person later. Sure. So, Silvia, thank you so much. I think there was so many interesting insights from what you said. I'm sure the listeners here have benefited from it. For those of you listening, thank you so much for your time. I hope you found this podcast interview with Silvia Riaño Rufilanchas useful. If you have something to say, if you want to respond to what Silvia said, what you heard, you can go to my website, vineshsukumaran.com. You can get in touch with me. You can email me, message me, call me. If you're watching this video conference on YouTube, you can put your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to also share, if you heard something here and you went back and used it and it worked well for you, or it worked partially and you want to know more, you can put it in the comments below, and just tag us, and we'll get back in touch with you. So thank you so much. Thanks, Silvia. Thank you all for listening. I will be back with the next guest and the third podcast of this season of life lessons from friends and family. Thank you for your time, and I will see you soon. Thanks, Silvia.
Dhanyavad.
Yes, dhanyavad.
Yes, Dhanyavad.